welcome to another video. Now today we are going to talk about the 5 most popular strategies in property right now. Stay tuned. Now in this video we're going to discuss the 5 most popular strategies that people are utilizing to make money from property in today's market. But before I start on these strategies, they are in no particular order. So it's not most popular to least popular or least to most, because to tell you, I don't think anyone's ever done a survey, so we don't really know. I do know buy-to-let's probably the biggest one, because everyone does battle it. Everybody does battle it. But let's get straight to it. Property strategy number 1. Deal sourcer. What is a deal sourcer? A deal sourcer is a person, a professional individual who has a registered company and has set themselves up as someone who finds investment properties for investors for a fixed amount of money. It's not fixed, I don't know why I said that, for an amount of money. This amount would range and it varies, and the investment type of property would range and vary. So typically a deal sourcer would either source many different deals, or they would specialize in a particular strategy. So you find that some deal sourcers only source rent-to-rent deals. You market yourself and you position yourself in front of investors and in front of homeowners, and you match the two together. You couple the two together and you literally stand in the middle. The range of investment properties that are found are very wide, because they may differ from buy-to-sell properties or buy-to-hold properties. So what the property sourcer would actually source is very dependent upon what niche they have decided to specialize in, if any. So some deal sources will say, hey, I find everything down to lease options, delayed completions, installment contracts, any type of, they're kind of means to an end, actually. They're not really the end. A delayed completion is not really the end. It's like a process. So I wouldn't really say that's a strategy. But rent to rent, buy to sell, buy to hold, commercial conversion, developments, some people source all of that, and some people have decided just purely to focus on one niche, such as rent to rent. And that's all they source all day, every day. But a deal sourcer is someone who finds investment properties for investors. A deal sourcer would also liaise with homeowners who may be motivated to sell for whatever reason, to be able to find that investment product in the first place that the investor would be looking for, if that makes sense. So the deal sourcer would liaise not only with just the investor who they would sell the deal to, their client, but they would also liaise with homeowners who may be motivated, who really want to sell and get out of their situation quickly. And the deal sourcer would then take this situation, find a suitable way of them out of that situation, i.e. maybe selling their house for them, and finding you, the investor who wants to buy a cheap house. They want to sell their house fast, you want to buy a house, so you would match the two, boom, and that's it. It's a match made in heaven. And the deal sourcer would then take a fee for that process. Happy days. So that's a really popular strategy in property, and it's a way that people are making a lot of money. And I mean, I've made money from deal sourcing in London and in Swansea, and you know what? It's really good, because if you're already in the property industry, you're already coming across deals. Not every single deal you're going to be able to transact on. Far and few between. So what you do is you would then sell on the deals that you can't do. But that's not really necessarily on a professional deal sourcing level. That's if you're just already in property, you're getting stuff and you don't know what to do with it, you sell it on. However, but if you're really establishing yourself as a deal sourcer, then you would have to, be registered with some form of property ombudsman, some kind of property redress scheme. You'd have insurances in place. You'd have the ICO data protection. Registered with the ICOs for your making sure your data protections properly incorporated into the company. So there's a lot more legalities that you'd have to follow to really set yourself up as a deal sourcer. But that is something you can do and make some good money from it. So that's one way that people are making money from property in today's market. Property strategy number 2, deal packaging. Deal packaging and deal sourcing to me are very similar, and I was almost very inclined to put them together because to me there's not much of a difference. When you're sourcing a deal, you're finding the deal, you're still sending it on to someone else. It's the same with deal packaging. But with deal packaging, I think with deal packaging, you go just that extra bit more. You find out a lot more about the information, a lot more information about the property, a lot more hands-on, and also you can then also offer them a whole turnkey process where you find the builder for them, or if you already have a team, you can utilize your team to manage the renovation if there is one, manage the lettings if there is lettings to be done, or manage the sale if there is sales to be done. So with a deal packaging, you're offering the entire package. So not only just am I finding you this deal, but I can also offer you the services to see that deal through to the end. Whereas with a sourced deal, you would only just pass that deal on, and as soon as they have exchanged contracts, then you would usually get your money. Everyone requires their funds at different times. Every source requires their funds at different times. So it depends on how that source would work. But that's how it goes. So that's still sourcing, that's still packaging. Let's look at property strategy number 3. With property strategy number 3 is buy to sell. That's when you buy a property, add value to that property, and sell it on for a profit. Now, the aim is always to buy property as cheap as you can possibly buy because you need to be able to make money. But is that actually really true? I don't think it is. It's important that when you're looking at the buy to sell strategy, that you're looking at your numbers and making sure that they work based on the end value. The end value is the driving factor in all of this. Yes, location and all that other stuff is fundamental. I mean, that's really taking it back. If you really want to go back to the beginning, a buy to sell is when you find a property that ideally is bought it for a discount, but you buy a property less than it's worth, add value, and you don't necessarily have to buy it less than its worth. I don't know why I keep saying that. You don't have to buy it less than its worth. You can buy it at its value. So long that you can make money by adding value and increasing that value somehow and selling it on for a profit, it's happy days. But you've got to be able to realize the value. And that's the important part with this strategy. So you can take a 2-bedroom house, 2-bedroom terrace house, you buy it for £50,000, you spend £20,000 doing it up, then you have £5,000 in costs, you're £75,000 all in. You would now sell this house on for £100,000 to a first-time buyer, and you would make yourself £25,000 profit. That's a typical example of a buy to sell and how it works. People can do that strategy in many different ways and many different structures. So for example, if you don't have money, but it's a strategy that you do like and you would like to do, you can partner with someone. Okay, but there's a lot more about that and I can help you with that if you want to know more. So if you do have questions as I go throughout this video, drop them down somewhere in your notepad, write it on the comments below, and I can come back to you either via a video like I've done here, or I will respond on the comment below. But if you have questions arising, please don't let them fly out your head. Write them down so we can get those questions answered. Property strategy number 4, buy to hold. Now, buy to hold is similar to buy to sell, but rather than selling, you're going to hold. With buy to let, you can buy a 3-bedroom house, just keep it in its current condition and let it out to a family, a mum and dad and 2 children, or a single mother and a child, or elderly couple moving who may be downsizing in the property and not wanting to stay in the accommodation they're in now, and they may want to rent from you. But there's various reasons for buy to let, but buy to let is a great strategy, which is, I think it's the bread and butter of Britain. I like that one. Buy to let is the bread and butter of Britain. I think it's the bread and butter of anything, to be honest with you. Everybody does buy to let. So buy to let is when you buy a house and rent it out to your tenants. Okay? Now, ideally, which they should, that rent would cover the amount of the mortgage, at least 2.5 times the amount the mortgage is, and you would then have a nice amount of cash coming in per calendar month, which would then pay for the mortgage and hopefully pay for your lifestyle. Beautiful thing is, it can quickly work out how much properties you need in order to replace your income once you know how much a property can make. So let's take our typical house here in Swansea. You you could buy a house for £60,000, could generate an income of £500 a month, which is quite nice. Once you've paid the mortgage on that, you'd be looking at anything of £300 coming in per calendar month for the rest of your days, or for the rest of the time you own that property. Now, you can quickly figure out how many of those properties you need to replace your monthly income that will allow you to retire or quit your job. Will allow you to quit your job. A deposit for a £60,000 house, if we're basing it on a 25% deposit, which is rather typical for buy-to-let, then you're looking at £15,000, which isn't bad, is it? That's quite good. So for £15,000 plus costs, so say you might want to spend like £1,000 bringing the house up into your own nice touch. You might have a bit of nooks and crannies around the house that you need to touch up on. So say you're all in at £20,000. You've got your £15,000 deposit. I'm talking to fares. You got your £15,000 deposit. You have your costs of around £5,000. So that's a little bit of renovation costs. You've got your purchase costs such as solicitors, surveys, finance and fees. Okay. Now you're all in at £20,000. That £20,000 you spent will produce you £300 a month for the duration of you owning the property. Of course, at some point you're going to have to pay down that mortgage, but that's what the tenant's doing, because the rent coming in is paying down the debt. So that's a great strategy that people do. It's very popular. I think it's the bread and butter of Britain. It's a very popular strategy. It's really good. Property strategy number 5, rent to rent. Now, rent to rent is the talk of the town, okay? No money down, no money down. This is a no money down strategy. People use that in very different type of terminologies. So I'm not even going to use that just so I don't confuse anyone. But rent to rent is a strategy where you rent a property from a landlord and you rent it on for a higher amount, where you can pay that amount and you keep the difference for what you have coming in. Did I explain that well? Did I say? I'm going to say it one more time. A rent to rent is where you take a property and rent it off a landlord. You would then rent it on to a separate individual, and you would collect in that amount, pay the landlord and keep the difference. The amount you rent it on for must be higher than the amount you pay. Otherwise, there's no point. So there's different types of ways of doing rent to rent. I've done an entire video on that already, which you can watch somewhere else if you shop around a bit on my page. And I go into a little bit more detail about how that works and some other areas if you want to get started. But rent to rent is a really good popular strategy. There's different ways of doing it. So you can have a rent to rent where you would rent it out, take on a 3-bedroom house and rent a 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom house with 2 receptions, and you'd rent it on to 5 or 6 different individuals, collecting that rent and then paying your original landlord his rent and keeping the difference. Okay, that's one way. Another way of doing rent to rent is getting a flat somewhere in the city centre, somewhere in a great location where people are, looking to come. Ideally, a tourist area is really good. Tourist is very fantastic, actually. And you would then utilise that flat as a hotel. So you'd put it on Airbnb, you'd put it on Booking.com, you'd put it on TripAdvisor, all the advertising main protocol sites, and you would then rent it out on a nightly basis, getting your money on a nightly rate and not a monthly rate as you would do if it was a normal AST. Now, the agreements you use to take that property in the first place is very different to a normal AST. You would not use that, an assured tenancy agreement, wouldn't use that. But you'd use a different type of an agreement, like a management corporate let, or a management agreement, or corporate let agreement, or a non-housing agreement. I've used loads of different agreements because some agencies and their solicitors have felt it's more better, the wording works more better and set up for different ways. So there's lots of different terminologies, but I find that the wording inside is pretty much the same. And I've always utilised their solicitors, the agent solicitors, and that's what we've done. So that is another strategy that's worked very well for me. done fantastic, and I still utilize it today. If you like what you've heard today and you want to know a little bit more about any of these strategies, I'm more than happy to share what I know. You know, I love talking to you guys. I love educating people. I love learning myself. I'm such a learner. I'm a creative person, always thinking outside the box. I even had my builder doing some crazy stuff today for marketing, but look, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? So anyway, those are the 5 most popular strategies today utilized in the market that people are making money from. They are cash flowing money. They are making money on a monthly basis. They are investing their money into these strategies, turning themselves into businesses, working on a full-time basis, some of them working part-time. They are transacting in money, not beans or buttons, but no, yeah, transacting and making good money on a monthly basis. So, like I said, if you like any of those strategies or interested, more than happy to share what I know. Please comment down below, share the video, pass it on to anyone who you think may want to know a bit more about these things, because it's good to know what you can do and what alternatives you have to your everyday job. Okay? That's me. I'm signing out for now. It was absolutely lovely spending this time with you, and I look forward to connecting with you again. See you at the top.